Childhood friends forced to marry, discover the incredible secrets as they unite against family. Emma and Jake stood on the precipice of a life they never wanted. The air in Maplewood buzzed with gossip, whispers that felt like icy chains wrapped around their dreams. They had grown up together, inseparable in their carefree childhood adventures, sharing laughter and the magic of promise. Now, at 28, their lives intertwined by a bitter rivalry, they faced an arranged marriage, a fate dictated by their feuding families and their crumbling businesses. The weight of expectations bore down on them like a heavy fog, obscuring the dreams they once held close. Emma's heart raced as she thought of her grandmother's recipes, the sweet aroma of freshly baked bread waking her each morning. A bakery infused with love was her dream, but now her aspirations felt like distant echoes, overshadowed by the bitter tension between their families. Jake, with his loyal heart and deep sense of duty, battled against the storm brewing inside him. He was a volunteer firefighter, dedicated to protecting and serving their town, but could he honor that commitment while shackled to a life he never chose? "Emma," Jake whispered one evening, stealing a glance at the setting sun casting hues of gold across the familiar Maplewood streets. What if we fought back?" The spark in his eyes ignited something deep within her, a flicker of hope in a darkened world. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The news of their union sent ripples through the town, families gripping their best china and exchanging worried glances. But as they walked hand in hand through the old streets, laughter cut through anxiety, revealing the unwavering spirit of community that wrapped around them. Friends rallied, neighbors showing up with encouragement and pies, reminding them that behind every shadow, light still existed. One night, while sorting through boxes in her grandmother's attic, Emma discovered an old letter tucked between faded pages of a cookbook. Its fragile paper crinkled under her fingers, revealing a conversation concealed by time, a secret about their parents that had been buried deep, festering through generations of hatred. "This can't be real," she gasped, her breath catching like a deer in headlights. Jake leaned closer, the revelation unraveling like a spool of yarn, turning their world upside down, with the heavy weight of their family's past pressing down on them. Emma and Jake stood at a crossroads, wondering if they could rewrite the narrative. Could they break the cycle of anger and bond over their shared dreams? Could they heal the town that had raised them, still vibrant with the memories of their youth? The flicker of love and friendship sparked between them like a wild flame, threatening to consume the darkness surrounding their families. The tension crackled in the air, each heartbeat against the backdrop of a community at a crossroads. Would love conquer? Could they find a path through the chaos, or were they destined for the same heartbreak that had plagued their families? In a town where everyone knew their names, they held the power to reshape the future, but at what cost? The next morning, Emma faced the sun filtering through her window, the rays warming her skin like a gentle embrace. She felt invigorated. The discovery from the attic swirled in her mind, igniting determination. It was the first time in a while that she didn't see their engagement as a prison, but rather an opportunity to reshape their futures. Jake arrived at her doorstep, the early morning light casting him in a golden glow. His eyes sparkled with an energy she hadn't seen in ages. "I've been thinking," he began, his voice steady. "We have to tell our families about the letter. They need to hear what we found." Emma hesitated, anxiety creeping up her spine. "Jake, they want just listen. The anger runs deep. We have to try," he said, his hand taking hers, squeezing gently. "We can't let the past destroy our futures. If they know the truth, maybe they can finally see things differently." As they talked, every plan they hashed and every scenario they played out became a thread weaving them closer. With the letter as their armor, they agreed to meet at the community center that evening when both families gathered for their regular monthly meeting. Emma's stomach fluttered at the thought. What if things spiraled out of control? But then, looking into Jake's fierce, believing eyes, she felt a surge of courage. That night, the community center buzzed with the familiar, comforting chaos, the chatter of voices, the clinking of plates being set up on tables, the laughter of children running around. They found a corner, hidden from the hustle and bustle, where they could mentally prepare. "Are you ready?" Jake asked, his brow furrowed. "Ready as I'll ever be," Emma replied, her heartbeat steadying. When the time came, they approached the front of the room, hearts racing like fireflies in a night sky. Faces turned, eyebrows raised. Once they began speaking, she could feel the room shift, tension thick in the air. She handed the letter to her mother first, watching her expression morph from confusion to shock as she read the words that could very well be the key to mending the rift between their families. This can't be true," her mother murmured, her voice trembling. "Mom, please listen. This is about more than what happened years ago. It's about us. We can't keep this hatred alive," Emma pleaded, the lump in her throat tightening. The room shifted as murmurs turned to gasps. Jake continued, "We have a chance to break this cycle together. But it starts with acknowledging what has kept us apart. We can't let our parents' anger guide our choices." Emma watched her father's eyes as they flickered with rested emotions. She understood then that the walls her family built were tall and stark, yet a crack had formed in the facade. But just as things seemed to skewer their way, voices rose in the crowd. The fierce tirade of her mother's cousin could be heard loud and clear. "You think you can just change everything with one letter? Our families have faced betrayal, and you think some words are enough?" Unease raced through the crowd, thickening the air. Emma's heart sank. She caught Jake's gaze, and the silent understanding passed between them. They couldn't stop now that the discussions grew more heated, with older generations recalling tales that incited anger. Emma felt something inside her swell. Their love could heal, but it had to be fought for. Their families needed to confront their own pasts, each one peeling back the layers of pain like a wound that could finally begin to heal with time. "Let us get real," Emma shouted, surprising herself with the force of her voice. "Love brought us together once. Isn't it time we let it do so again?" The room fell silent, their words hanging in the air like unspent energy. She saw glimmers of hope in faces once fierce with rage, and she knew they were on the brink of something monumental. But as tension simmered, another voice from the back interrupted with an ominous statement that made her gasp. "Enough of this nonsense. You think you can change what's destined to happen? You're not meant to be together." The air grew thick again, and Emma stared wide-eyed at Jake, heart pounding. Were they truly ready for this battle? In that moment of uncertainty, their future dangled precariously at the edge of a road less traveled. Would they plunge into the unknown, or retreat back into the shadows of their family's choices? Emma felt the air suffocate around her, the unyielding hostility of their relatives pulling her under like a weight. She glanced at Jake, whose expression betrayed a flicker of fear, but he held her gaze steady. He exuded a quiet strength that pushed her to confront the poisonous words that had been thrown their way. "Who decides what's meant to be?" She shot back, her voice gaining volume. "Is it our parents' grudges? Or is it the two of us who get to decide our path?" She stepped forward, sparks igniting in her chest. "No more hiding. No more living in the shadow of old grudges. Our love deserves to be heard." A few nods stirred through the crowd, paving a path of hope amidst the skepticism. But then the cousin spoke again, the derision dripping from her voice. "You kids are naive to think you can overturn years of animosity with a few passionate speeches. You're still bound by the sins of the past. Maybe it's time we let the past teach us, not dictate our future." Jake interjected, his hand now clasping Emma's tightly as if seeking reassurance in a storm. "We choose to rise above it." But even as they felt a stir of support, not everyone was moved. Emma's heart sank at the sight of her mother's face, twisted with disbelief. "What you're suggesting is madness. This is our family's legacy." "Legacy?" Emma echoed, the word heavy in the air. Is it a legacy of hate? What kind of future can we build on that? Emma, you don't understand, her mother snapped, the tension tightening like a noose. You've always had your head in the clouds. Maybe I had to dream to get here, Emma countered, her palms sweaty, yet her voice firm. And maybe we'll need to dream together to build something new. She felt the weight of her father's gaze boring down on her. His silence spoke volumes, and for a moment, she feared she had lost him. Trembling, she took a breath and continued, what if we broke down these walls? We have the choice to change the narrative, to turn this pain into understanding. There was a pause, a collective inhalation filled with possibilities. One elder blinked back tears, his gaze shifting as he seemed to reconsider old wounds. Emma had tasted the sweetness of hope, and her heart fluttered, but then, from the rear of the room, a voice resounded, icy and relentless. And what of the families that have been torn apart? You think this will heal anything? You will only force them further apart. The tension in the room erupted, kicking up dust on their discussions. Emma glanced at Jake, whose jaw was set, determination firing in his eyes. The crowd was closing in, a maelstrom of convictions built on fear. Enough! Jake shouted, his voice cutting through the noise like a knife. The room fell silent again. You want to talk about family? Then let us talk. But not just about grudges. Let us talk about love, about healing. He stepped toward Emma's parents, standing in front of them, a shield braving the storm. Our families shaped who we are, but they don't have to control who we become together. The truth is, we are the architects of our lives. As his words lingered, Emma held her breath. A ripple of surprise flickered across the room, drawing faces back from the edge of mistrust. Everyone, listen. Emma interjected, the energy bubbling inside her. We're not asking for forgiveness first. Just give us a chance to explain. The letter is proof we are all bound by shared history, if not by blood. So let us use that history to build, to grow. The crowd's murmur shifted, like the wind changing direction. Emma could see faces softening, hope igniting, but then, with the faintest turn of her head, she noticed someone at the back, a figure pushing through the crowd. Her heart quickened at the sight of her grandmother, the matriarch known for keeping the family's history alive and for its burdens. Emma, her grandmother called, a chill creeping into her voice like a winter's frost. What do you really know about the past? Emma felt frozen, caught in a gaze that could melt icicles or shatter them. Would this confrontation unveil deeper truths, or would they all plunge into darkness again? In that pivotal moment, the room held its breath, the air buzzed with anticipation, and Emma realized they were on the verge of uncovering something incredibly consequential. Would they find the courage to unravel the ties that bound them? Emma's breath hitched in her throat as she took in her grandmother's presence. The atmosphere in the room shifted, edges sharpened and eyes widened, caught between the past and the uncertain future. Grandma, Emma said softly, her voice trembling slightly. We're trying to understand what? Her grandmother snapped, stepping closer, her sharp features softening only for a moment. You think it's as simple as love conquers all? You don't know the half of it. You haven't lived through the pain. A ripple of tension echoed from the back of the crowd. People leaned in, straining to hear every word as if Emma's grandmother held the key to a long-lost treasure. You've only seen the surface of the scars, she continued, voice low but unwavering. This isn't just about your generation. It's about choices that were made, sacrifices that were endured. You think I haven't been hurt by what this family has faced? Emma clenched her fists, her heart racing. We want to move forward, Grandma. We don't want to be haunted by the past anymore. Jake stepped forward, sensing her mounting frustration, his presence a steady anchor. What if the pain you feel could become a bridge instead of a wall? What if we can rewrite what your generation has wrought? A skeptical murmur rolled through the gathered relatives. Emma noticed her mother's eyes darting between her and her grandmother, uncertainty mingling with anger. You don't understand the history we carry. Her mother's tone was sharp, demanding respect. It's our family's burden, passed down for generations. Emma's heart sank, but she pressed on. But that burden doesn't have to ruin us. We can remember it, honor it, yet still choose to create something beautiful from it. What if we begin to forgive, to understand each other's pain? Isn't that worth trying? Silence enveloped the room again, heavy and thick. Emma could see her grandmother's eyes glistening, torn between acceptance and fear. You think love can change bloodlines? Yes, Emma replied boldly, her voice rising with passion. Love can change everything. You raised us to believe in family. Now we're asking you to believe in hope. If we join together, what battles can't we win? In that moment, there was a crack in the ice, a flicker of vulnerability lighting up her grandmother's face. Hope is a dangerous thing, she murmured, almost to herself. Jake squeezed Emma's hand tighter, as if trying to transfer courage through touch. It may be dangerous, Grandma, but it's also powerful. It's bigger than grudges. We can leverage our deepest wounds to connect instead of divide. Emma's grandmother hesitated, but the tension in her shoulders seemed to ease. A question flashed in her eyes, one not yet voiced. What if I told you there were truths you weren't ready to hear? What if the legacy isn't just pain? What if there's a different story buried beneath the ashes? Hope surged inside Emma, but fear clung tightly to her. They were on the brink of something monumental, yet she couldn't shake the uncertainty. What do you mean? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. Before her grandmother could respond, another voice erupted from the far side of the room, laden with disbelief. Are you willing to stake our family's future on a fairy tale? A cousin she barely knew stepped forward, eyes flashing with skepticism. What if you fail? What happens then? The crowd shifted again, uncertainty creeping back in. Emma felt her pulse quickening, the distance between hope and anxiety blurring. Could they muster the strength to step into the truth, whatever it might hold? Would they dare to confront the shadows of their families and seek a light powerful enough to ignite deep-seated truths, or would they retreat, slamming doors to their future shut once more? The room buzzed with expectation, but Emma could sense the apprehension coursing like electricity in the air. All they needed was the courage to step forward together or risk losing everything. What would it take to change the course of their history? The tension in the room was palpable, a thick fog of doubt that threatened to choke out all hope. Emma held her breath, her heart pounding, as she scanned the faces of her family. They were caught in a storm of history, memories swirling like leaves in the wind. But she wasn't ready to let the storm sweep them away. Listen, she began, her voice steady, rising above the whispering din. What if we looked at this as a chance to heal, rather than a burden to bear? If we can confront the past together, we might just find the strength we need to make things right. Her grandmother's gaze softened slightly, an ember of intrigue flickering in her eyes. Emma pressed on, sensing the moment teetering on a knife edge. Failures? Sure, they could happen, she said, turning to her cousin, but isn't it better to try? To at least be open to what's possible. A ripple of murmurings filled the air, pushing the boundary between skepticism and curiosity. Emma could feel the mounting questions: what had been hidden? What secrets would shake their very foundation? Grandma, she turned back, don't we owe it to ourselves to find out? If there's another story, let us hear it. Let us rewrite that legacy. The matriarch's lips pressed into a thin line. This is not a fairy tale, Emma. There's danger in digging too deep. Her voice was firm, but Emma noticed the slightest tremor, a reminder that even the strongest hearts can be fragile beneath the layers of time. A cousin interjected, his voice shaky. Or maybe it's time we face the truth. If our family can't be honest with each other, then who are we? His words hung in the air, a lifeline tossed to the drowning. The tension in the room shifted once again, needles of hope and fear intertwining. Eyes darted, murmurs grew louder, and the room started to feel more like a battleground than a reunion. I can't promise you that it will be easy, Emma continued, her voice unwavering. But I can promise you this, it will be worth it. We owe it to those who came before us, and to the ones who will come after. We must reclaim our narrative. Still, her grandmother hesitated, the shadows of doubt etched across her features. And yet, there was a flicker of something recognition. Agreement? Emma's breath steadied as if she was nudging the ground beneath her grandmother's feet. People have hidden things for a reason, her grandmother said cautiously, almost as if she was trying to protect something precious. What if the truth shatters our world? Emma stepped forward, her voice softening, but firm. What if it heals it? What if this family can be united in strength? All we need is to be brave enough to face it together. Love can spark change. It starts with honest words spoken from the heart. Her grandmother's brow furrowed, the battle within her plain for everyone to see. Emma could sense the clash of fears and desires in the old woman's eyes, a fight between history and hope. Then, just as it seemed the room might burst apart with tension, Emma's mother broke the silence. Grandma, maybe it's time we share what we've held so close. It's not just your story anymore. It's ours. The room held its collective breath, waiting, hearts racing. Emma could feel the air crackle with promise. Would they take the plunge? But before Emma's grandmother could respond, a loud crash came from the back of the room, drawing everyone's attention. A family heirloom, a vase her grandfather had always treasured, had fallen from its place, shattering against the floor. The loud, jarring sound mirrored her grandmother's shifting expression. Was this a sign? Or a warning? Emma's heart pounded in her chest. What other secrets lay hidden, waiting to be uncovered? And would they manage to hold themselves together as the past came crumbling down? As they all stared at the mess on the floor, Emma's mind raced. This breaking glass felt like a turning point. Could it be the catalyst they needed to shatter years of silence? Or would it mark the end of their fragile hope? The weight of both possibilities hung heavy in the air. What lay ahead could either unite them or tear them further apart. And Emma, caught between both worlds, braced herself for the fallout. Would the truth be worth the cost? Emma's heart sank at the sound of shattering glass, a sound too loud, too unmistakable, echoing through the pause that had engulfed the room. The treasured vase lay in pieces, sharp shards glimmering like lost hopes on the floor. Her grandmother's face turned pale, a storm of emotions crossing her features. What have you done? A sister whispered, shock mingling with fear like a dark cloud rolling in. Emma felt a weight settle on her chest. It was an accident, it had to be, she began, but the words felt hollow. How could she defend something so fragilely beautiful that had just been destroyed? They all stood, breaths held. Each person processed the moment differently, some with wide eyes, others flinching as if they'd been struck. It was as if the vase had been a barrier protecting them from the truth, and now that it lay in shambles, so too did their comfortable silence. Her grandmother finally knelt down, her hands trembling as she picked up a piece of the shattered vase. This was your grandfather's favorite, she murmured, a whisper thick with loss. He loved it because a pause hung in the air, filled with the weight of unspoken words. Because it holds our family's history, Emma's cousin stated gently. And we're about to uncover more of it. The words resonated in Emma, as though they had struck a hidden chord within her. Curiosity began to blaze in their eyes, fueling the embers of intrigue that had been ignited by her own earlier words. Grandma, Emma said, her voice soft yet insistent, maybe now is the time. If we can't protect the past, perhaps we need to finally confront it. Picking up the pieces might be the beginning rather than the end. Her grandmother's eyes glistened with tears, but there was a flicker of something else beneath the surface. In that moment, Emma saw not just a woman burdened by secrets but also someone desperate for healing. A shared truth, lurking beneath family gatherings and soft smiles, suddenly felt tangible. I've withheld things to protect your hearts. You have no idea, the older woman's voice cracked, losing a fraction of its authority, becoming vulnerable. There are shadows in our past that could dismantle everything you believe. Or rebuild it stronger, Emma responded, stepping closer, eyes locked on her grandmother's. Let us in. We can all work through this, together. Emma's cousins exchanged glances, and one by one, nods began to ripple through the room like a wave breaking on the shore. The sense of conflict slowly shifted toward unity, igniting an energy Emma couldn't help but hope for. Okay, her grandmother whispered, trembling but resolute. I will share the truth, but you must understand it holds as much pain as it does history. With every ounce of courage, Emma took a breath and asked, what are we willing to confront? What dark things lie in the shadow of our family? Just then, the front door swung open, sending a gust of cold wind into the room. A figure stood silhouetted in the framework against the fading daylight, Emma's uncle, back from a long absence, a ghost of their family's past. Did I hear someone mentioning family secrets? He asked, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Shock rippled through the room, dashing Emma's hopes against the unforgiving reality. Would his appearance pull them back into the darkness they sought to escape? With eyes wide, she asked herself what turmoil this unexpected presence could unleash. Would they find the courage to stand united, or would it pull them apart again? As they all regarded this sudden interruption, Emma felt the electricity of anticipation. What revelations were about to unfold? And more importantly, what had her uncle been hiding all these years? The atmosphere shifted in an instant. Emma's heart raced as she stared at the figure in the doorway. Her uncle was a tall man, his shadow stretching across the room like a dark omen. There was a mix of surprise and tension in his arrival, his demeanor instantly cooling the faint warmth that had begun to build just moments ago. Sam, her grandmother breathed, eyes wide. You shouldn't be here. Not now. Panic and relief danced across her features as if she were afraid he would disrupt the delicate conversation they were about to have. Emma could practically feel the breeze from the door nudging at old memories, the kind that rattled the soul. What secrets did this man carry, she wondered. She remembered the stories whispered after family dinners, fragments of laughter and sadness surrounding her uncle's absence. What had led him to remain hidden for so long? Isn't family the only thing worth coming back for? He smirked, an edge to his voice. His gaze landed on the shards of glass scattered like lost stories, and his smile faltered. I see some things never change. Emma's grandmother straightened, her chin lifting slightly as if pulling strength from somewhere deep within. We need to talk, she said firmly, though her voice trembled. You can't just walk in here and expect everything to be normal. After everything. Sam crossed the threshold, stepping fully into the living room as though he were reclaiming a piece of himself that had been absent. Normal? What does that even mean anymore? He shot back, glancing toward the broken vase. Do you think that vase was the only thing holding your secrets? You don't understand. Stop. Emma interjected, voice rising. She felt the room draw in a breath, all eyes on her. We're here to talk about the past, about our family, why you left. What happened? The challenge hung in the air. A silence enveloped them, thick and suffocating. Emma's cousins shifted uncomfortably, eyes darting from one relative to the next, waiting for someone to crack open the shell. Her grandmother, though visibly shaken, seemed rooted to the spot, stubbornly refusing to give way. Sam hesitated, his bravado faltering. You think you want the truth? You have no idea, he muttered, but there was a glimmer of uncertainty about him, a crack in the armor he had worn all this time. Try us, Emma offered, her voice steadier than she felt. We just broke something precious. Maybe it's time to break the silence, too. Those words felt heavy. Those words felt liberating. Time stretched as each family member pondered the implications, each pair of eyes searching for courage, clarity, and a sense of belonging anew. Fine, Sam relented, the sarcasm dropping from his tone. But you're not going to like it. None of us should have to tiptoe around this any longer. Emma took a deep breath, heart racing. Fear mingled with hope. Could this moment lead them to something greater? Or would it further unravel everything they had struggled to hold together? As Sam opened his mouth to begin, a soft but persistent knock echoed through the house. Emma's heart dropped again. Who else could be arriving? Suspicion and fear crashed over them. Had someone else stumbled onto their family's fragile assembly? What other truths lurked just outside their doors? Would this newcomer sidetrack the revelation her uncle was teetering on the edge of? Her breath caught as she glanced around the room, the same question circling in her mind. What if the truth they sought was less than they hoped for and more than they could handle? Everyone exchanged glances, eyes wide, breath held as the knock echoed again, insistent and demanding. Emma felt a tightness grip her throat, a mix of panic and curiosity swirling within her. Sam was poised to spill secrets, and now the universe seemed to want another interruption. Who could that be? One of her cousins murmured, glancing nervously at the door. "I'll check," Emma said, her feet moving before she could think it through. Each step felt like a march toward another confrontation. She opened the door slowly, the hinges creaking like the tension hanging in the air. Standing on the doorstep was a familiar face that sent a jolt through Emma, one filled with both dread and unexpected warmth. "Jake." She gasped, blinking twice as if her eyes could will away the disbelieving image before her. Jake had been her childhood companion, always brimming with mischief and laughter. They had shared countless adventures that now seemed steeped in a golden nostalgia, more so than clamor of the present turmoil. But time had passed, and his absence had left a void that neither had dared to navigate until this moment. "Hey, Emma," he said softly, his voice holding a hint of longing. But he quickly shifted, looking at the scene inside, seeing Sam standing there, a man changed yet still very much the same. Emma swung open the door wider, letting Jake step inside. An invisible weight shifted upon his arrival, as if, by coming into their lives again, he had drawn a line between then and now, challenging everything they had carried in their memories. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice a mixture of surprise and worry. I heard there was family drama," Jake replied cautiously, gesturing toward Sam and her grandmother, both caught off guard by his sudden appearance. "I didn't mean to intrude, but I had to come. I thought you might need someone." Sam shifted, leaning against the wall as tension filled the room anew. "Looks like the family reunion just got more complicated," he muttered, the remnants of his bravado gone. Emma felt a tugging in her heart. Was it possible that Jake had arrived just in time? For once, his presence soothed an ache she didn't know she had. He always grounded her even in chaotic moments, making the impossible seem lighter. Before she could respond, her grandmother stepped forward. "It's good to see you, Jake," she said, her tone struggling to mask genuine relief. "We are just trying to make sense of things here." "Yeah," Jake replied, his gaze now focused on Sam. "I can tell." The air rippled with unspoken words, with history swarming like summer fireflies. Emma's heart raced as she realized Jake might hold answers too. They all stood at a crossroads, histories intertwining dangerously. Sam was about to share some truths, Emma pointed out, her voice stronger, determined to propel them into the depths they all feared yet desired to explore. Maybe Jake could help. Sam looked at her incredulously, caught off guard by her suggestion. "Help with what? You think I'm going to just spill everything like a kid at show and tell?" "Yes," Emma said resolutely, "because whatever comes out might be the only way forward." Silence enveloped the room, thick like fog. Sam's eyes narrowed, and Emma felt the weight of their past pressing down, straining against the boundaries that had kept them apart for too long. Would they dive into the truths that had haunted them? The moment hung suspended, pregnant with possibility when another knock spoke from outside. Emma's heart plunged with uncertainty once more. Who else was coming? What other revelations awaited them just outside? "Stay here," Emma whispered to Jake, fear entwining her words. Each knock seemed to echo a deeper truth they all needed to confront. What would happen when she opened that door again? Would it bring clarity or chaos? And more importantly, what lay ahead for their tangled fates? Emma's heart raced as the second knock came, louder and more demanding than the first. She cast a quick glance back at Jake, who stood frozen, concern evident in his blue eyes. Sam was leaning back against the wall, arms crossed defiantly, but Emma could see the tension in his posture. Her grandmother watched the door, gaze flicking between the entrance and the two young adults. Who else could it be? Jake whispered, his voice barely above a murmur, but the concern laced in it was loud and clear. Emma's resolve solidified. She took a breath and turned to the door, her hand trembling slightly as she reached for the handle. Whatever happens, we can handle it, she murmured to herself, a mantra she hoped would bridge the gap between the unknown and what was familiar. Before she could hesitate any longer, she flung the door open. A chill swept into the room, accompanied by the bitter wind of approaching autumn. Standing outside was a figure cloaked in a long, dark jacket, face partially obscured by the collar. Emma squinted, heart racing again as she recognized the tousled hair and piercing green eyes. Max? She gasped, confusion and disbelief crashing over her like a wave. Emma, he replied, his voice low and tentative as he stepped inside, shaking off the cold. Max had been the wild spirit of their group, always spontaneous and unafraid. But that spark had dimmed the last time she'd seen him, and now he wore a tension that felt much heavier. What are you doing here? Sam shot back defensively, his irritation palpable. Do you want to add to the circus? I came because I heard things were messy, Max said, casting a glance around the room that seemed to take inventory of emotions, his eyes finally landing on Jake. And I didn't want you to face it alone. All of you. With every new arrival, Emma felt the walls closing in, while a knot of anxiety twisted in her stomach. This wasn't how she pictured this reunion unfolding. But beneath it all, she felt sparks of hope. Maybe they could piece together the chaos swirling around them. Fine, Sam huffed, giving in to the shifting dynamics. Let us get on with it. There's enough history in this room to build a library. Max and Jake exchanged a glance, silently acknowledging Sam's challenge. Emma sensed they were dancing around truths that needed revealing. The stakes felt high, but maybe understanding each other's pain might show them the way forward. Okay, Emma said firmly, shifting her stance. Let us start with the truth. No more hiding. Not from each other. Not anymore. The room fell silent. They were all waiting, breaths held, hearts pounding as the weight of her words settled. It was a fragile promise, yet it had the power to unlock a path that had been long obscured. Fine, Sam broke in again, exhaling sharply. I'll go first. You all need to know about what really happened the day everything changed. Emma's stomach churned. She exchanged glances with Jake and Max, their eyes filled with recognition of the emotions she could hardly name. They were standing at the edge of a cliff, ready to dive into a tumultuous sea of truths, and just as Sam began to draw a breath, another loud knock echoed from the door, this time insistent and urgent, as if it bore an unspoken demand. Emma's heart sank. What could possibly come next? Could this be the moment they all faced the lurking shadows of their shared past? What would happen when those ghosts finally came to light? As the last knock resonated through the room, uncertainty gripped Emma like a vice. Sam stared at the door, a mixture of dread and expectation etched on his face. She could feel Jake lean in closer, his presence grounding, yet the tension hung thick in the air. Who else would join this already tumultuous reunion? Against all odds, Emma steeled herself, taking a deep breath. Enough waiting. She said, her voice ringing with determined resolve. Whatever it is, we face it together. With a firm tug, she swung the door open, half expecting chaos and half hoping for clarity. But what stood before them shocked her. Her favorite aunt, Clara, appeared, eyes wide with urgency. Emma! She exclaimed, breathless with a mix of concern and excitement. I heard what's happening. Can I come in? Emma stepped aside, letting her aunt into the storm of emotions swirling within those walls. Clara had always been the beacon of warmth in their complicated family. "It's all unraveling, isn't it?" she murmured, glancing around the room and catching sight of Sam, who had paled at her entrance. Great tension flowed from Sam to Clara, yet the prospect of new dialogue felt like a sliver of light cutting through clouds. "Let us have it," Sam urged, a bit less defensive now, nudged perhaps by the comfort Clara brought into the room. "Before we dive into any bigger revelations, I have something to share," Clara said, her tone sincere but serious. She took a moment to gather her thoughts. "Our family has been haunted by secrets for far too long. Trust me, I've spent years trying to piece this puzzle together, and I think now it's finally time." "Tell us," Emma pressed, her heart beating rapidly, feeling at the precipice of something, the weight of generations urging them to listen. Clara cleared her throat, her voice steadying. "There are chapters of our past painful moments that caused the rift between our families, events that have been clouded by anger and resentment. It's time we faced the truth, not just for ourselves, but for the generations to come." "Start from the beginning," Emma urged, sensing that this could alter everything. Clara looked around at the expectant faces, finally resting her gaze on Emma. "There was a love affair decades ago between your grandfather and my grandmother. Their children were torn apart because of it, leading to the long-standing feud. However, they weren't alone in the fallout, many of us have carried that burden. It's been our family's shame." Gasps echoed in the room, hearts raced, and every pair of eyes widened in disbelief. Emma felt as if the walls had just shifted, cracking beneath the weight of the truth. The shattered vase, a symbol of their delicate family structure, lay in pieces. Could this knowledge finally heal what had remained fractured for so long? Jake stepped closer to Emma, clasping her hand tightly. There was urgency in the air, and hope began to unfurl like a blossom pushing through the snow. What else?" he whispered to Clara, heart set on navigating the crossroads of pain and love. "The thing is," Clara continued, "your grandfather regretted the decisions that tore us apart. He carried immense guilt, so the animosity between the branches of our family only grew." Emma clenched her fists, feeling a wave of emotion swell inside her. "But we have a chance to be different," she said, her voice rising with conviction. "We can choose to forgive. We can choose to heal." Her grandmother was watching, her expression a profound mix of pain and curiosity. "Is it really possible to mend what has been broken?" she asked, her voice faltering yet hopeful. Emma turned to the others, seeking their strength. "Yes. Together, we can rewrite our story. We don't have to be bound by the past. And this time, let us make promises that last," Clara added, looking each person in the eye as galvanizing determination rippled through the room. "We are more than our past," Jake interjected firmly, squeezing Emma's hand again, as if assuring her of the journey they were embarking on. "It's about the way we choose to move forward." A murmur swept through the gathered family, uncertainty intermixing with fragments of hope as eyes softened around the room. And then, as Sam looked into Clara's eyes, something shifted. The fight was slowly easing, vulnerability cracking through the barriers they had built around themselves. "You're right," he said finally. "This doesn't just affect us, it impacts everyone, especially the generations yet to come." Gradually, the family members nodded, giving way to an understanding that had been built on pain but now had the potential to be formed through love. Emma felt overwhelming warmth in her heart as she witnessed their transformation. She turned to Jake, who wore a joyful smile, brightening the room like sunshine piercing through dark clouds. "We did it," she whispered, feeling dizzy with relief and passion. But she held the truth tightly, understanding that this was only the beginning. They needed to rebuild, piece by piece. Standing together, they began to form a pact, a covenant of healing. They promised to nurture the bonds and not let history dictate their future. In that moment, surrounded by family, the walls began to mend. With hearts full and eyes bright, they released the past's grip. Forgiveness was born, and uniquely, love paved the path, a love rekindled not only between Emma and Jake but also within their families. As they hugged and exchanged smiles, Emma turned to face her grandmother. "Let us make this new story ours. Together." And amidst those exchanged promises, a powerful sense of possibility swept through the room, a shared commitment to love, understanding, and transformation echoing like a sweet melody through their once fractured narrative. Now, as this whirlwind of emotions settled, remind yourself this story is not just theirs, but ours. Something beautiful is possible when we dare to unite, break barriers, and embrace love. And only the bravest of hearts understand the importance of stepping forward to rewrite a shared destiny. So, if you were touched by this journey, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, because great stories deserve to be seen. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this remarkable transformation, because love can change everything. Don't wait not even one more second to share your thoughts and support this channel. Only true fans understand the magic that happens when we connect through stories.